Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. Really excited to record this video because it answers a very big question that I've wondered for the longest. Why is it that as a high achiever, as a person who's very ambitious, who wants to achieve a lot of things, why is it so hard to stay on track? You may have experienced these periods where you are taking a lot of action, you're very inspired, you're just like in that mode. You keep going, you're taking a whole bunch of actions, and things start to be really good, you're getting a lot of results and whatever, but for some reason, even though you know you shouldn't get complacent, the results just start, flattening out. You're not making as much progress and you get into these ruts, and it's like, how do you stop yourself from getting into these ruts so you can keep improving, keep going up, rather than constantly having to deal with this frustration of just like essentially getting in these ruts, essentially. Pretty much what I learned, I'm not teaching you this because I'm so great and I have all this experience. It's really just learning from guys who are way higher level than me and some of the things and principles that I've learned, and sharing it with you because it's a very good mental model that'll help you understand what's actually going on and how you can go about fixing this. So essentially, it all comes down to this circle. This circle represents pretty much the cycle of your life. And you can split it into 4 quadrants. So 4 different quadrants. The first quadrant, call it Q1. This is the area where you're at the peak and you've been getting a lot of results, but now things are starting to go down a little bit. You stop taking action as much, or the action that you're taking just isn't enough to keep you growing, or something's happening to where results are just slowing down. You're not making as much progress and you're just going down. This is the area where, you start to get a little bit of frustration, but maybe you aren't taking action yet. Then you get into Q2, where now you start taking action. And the interesting thing about it is, even once you start taking action here, even once you start doing the things so you can, stop going downwards, whether that's in your results, and I'm talking very broadly here, like whether it's your fitness and like working out, or your business, or your mental health, or your relationships, communication, it doesn't matter. All these things, it applies to everything. Once you start to realize that things are going down, Q2, that's the area when you're like, okay, I've got to start doing things. And even once you start taking action, even once you start to, develop yourself and, try to change things won't start going up. Like, it takes a little bit to actually change the momentum of where the results are going. Then eventually you get to Q3, and this is when your actions are finally starting to pay off. You're starting to get results, you're starting to go back into an upward trajectory. Things are looking good, and you're so motivated by this that you're like, okay, I want to take even more action. I want to do even more things to make even more progress. That's where you get to Q4, where things really start getting good. But then, unfortunately, you kind of put on the brakes a little bit because either your identity hasn't caught up to the results that you're getting, or it could be really a number of reasons, but for some reason, the results start to taper off. Eventually, it goes back in a cycle to where now, because you've become so complacent and comfortable where you are, the results start tapering off, you start taking a little bit less action, and that is the whole cycle. Now, the thing that you need to understand about this, and the thing that's so empowering about like understanding this model, is that it's not always a perfect circle. It can be one of 2 things. It can be either an upward trajectory, like cycle, or downward trajectory cycle. And with all these circles, what I want you to imagine is all these like split into like these different quadrants, and this will make sense like once I explain it. Essentially, if you can spend more time being in Q3 or in Q2 where you're taking a lot of action, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna like really do all the work that I can to get as much results as I can, in the long run, like you're gonna have like a net positive results that you're getting. Let me stand on this side so I'm not blocking it. You're going to have a net positive. So you're gonna, even though you're going to have these inevitable cycles where you get a little bit comfortable and you're not putting everything that you can in, you're still having a general upward trajectory, and that's where you want to be in, rather than the person who experiences this downward cycle where they spend too much time in, let's say, the Q1, or the cycles where they're just like going down. basically, the thing to understand, and the thing where the understanding comes from, is that as a high achiever, as of someone who's trying to get a lot of results, we expect our results to be like this, like a linear trajectory up, or like even an exponential trajectory up. But the truth is, that's not how it happens. We are humans, that's just like not how it works. It always happens in this cycle. Every single person who you know who's gotten some level of success, or even the people who aren't that successful, we all are going through these cycles. We have these periods where we're doing really good, where we are really putting it on, full, what's the expression? Like pedal to the metal or whatever. We're really going at it, we're getting results. Then there's these places where we get comfortable, where we start stagnating. There's these places where, okay, I've got to, start getting things rolling again, blah, blah, blah. We are all going to go through these periods. The thing that will differentiate you and the thing that will get you the most results is not expecting yourself to be on this linear or exponential curve. It's instead to think, okay, I still want to go up high, but what I have to do is, instead of beating myself up and telling myself I'm a failure when I'm going through these periods where things aren't going as well, where I start to get comfortable, where I start to, just generally like stop putting my foot on the gas, and I start putting my foot on the brakes. Instead of beating myself and keeping myself there because of like all that mental garbage that you're putting, like, you've most likely been in this situation where you realize that your results are getting a little bit bad. And then because you're already in that state or in that area, now you start to give yourself excuses as to why you can keep yourself there. Like, say for example, if you're into cold showering or cold exposure, maybe there's been a period of time where you've been really consistent with the cold plunges or whatever, but then for some reason you just stop and you become a little bit comfortable because you're very proud of yourself. Oh yeah, I've already done it. I've got this habit locked in. I miss one day, it's not that big of a deal. But then you miss one day, and that one day turns into a few other days missed, and then it comes to more days missed. And then it's like, okay, well, now you're just not getting the results that you used to. You're not really putting it on. The thing is to realize, you have to realize what quadrant you're in. And then as soon as you realize that you're in there, make sure that you go back up. Make sure that you're, net positive. You're in the majority going up. Of course, there are going to be those times where, things just go a little bit downhill. You're not making as much progress, but it's kind of like meditation. It's not necessarily about constantly being perfect and, completely having your mind empty or whatever. No, the practice of meditation is realizing that your focus has been, gotten, or your focus is gone to your thoughts or something else, and then bringing your attention back to what's the thing that you're focusing on, whether it's your breath or like whatever you're focusing, for most meditations is focusing on the breath. But I hope you get my point. We are all going to go through the cycle. I don't care who you are going to have these periods where you get a little bit comfortable and things start going down. Then you start realizing, oh shit, I've got to like put my foot on the gas, and you start getting a little bit more results. And then you start to get those results, and then you start getting a little bit comfortable because your identity or whatever it is just hasn't caught up. And then you start getting a little bit complacent and the results start going down. It's not about completely ignoring the cycle. You've just got to make sure that you spend the majority of your time going upwards rather than down. Hope you got some value from this video. I hope that puts some things into perspective, whether there's some areas of your life that you're currently going down in, or there's some areas of your life that you're really, going up in and you don't want to become complacent. Just realize what area you are in. Make sure that you're in the majority going upwards. Don't beat yourself up if you're in this period where you're going a little bit down. Just realize that you are there and make sure that you're putting your foot on the gas so you can keep going. Hope this helps. Like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Peace out.